I would rather come to the place of saying, Theater. This is the first time I have set foot on stage in front of Thank you so much. I appreciate that, but I'm not the one you're here to see. I do have to say, on behalf of Liam McEneaney and his opening act, Rebecca Hart, who I have been told has a show coming up at the Kennedy Center. So you should investigate it. I believe she will inform you of better details. I see the lights dimming. I'm going to get off stage just in case, unfortunately, there's an accident in the theater. I will lead you to the exits. There are two. I think you know one. There's another. Please be safe. Enjoy the show. When the show ends, please do exit like you would from an airplane. We're going to start with the folks in the back row and exit that way just so we can maintain social distance. Otherwise, please enjoy the show.
First of all, I'm looking at you. I'm about to perform while looking at people and not my own face on my computer, and I'm not at all used to that. But also, I can't see you at all. It's just stage lights, which I forgot were a thing. I have not been on a stage since February of 2020. Oh my God. I'm really excited to be at the Crane. I have a rich history with this space. I once lost my cell phone in a toilet backstage. And I'll leave you with that while I just go and get my guitar. I met Liam McEneaney many years ago at the Irish Arts Center. I don't even have to be like, anyone here from the Irish Arts Center? Something I really like about my career, by the way, in case anybody is concerned, I'm not going to be singing any opera. I'm as confused about that happening as you are, but it is true. And one of the things I like about my career is that I often am asked to open up for people who are not other singer-songwriters. That's sort of like a weird badge of honor, I guess. So yeah, I'm also going to do something. Conventional wisdom dictates that you should not open with the brand new song, but fuck wisdom, right? Because I spent most of this year being like, well, I guess I don't write songs anymore. And like, it never occurred to me to be like, there's a global pandemic on. Perhaps you feel a little blocked for that reason. And then like yesterday I had my first band rehearsal, and like 2 hours before I went to band rehearsal, I wrote this. So why don't we all just coast through this new song with me? Thanks for listening. Sounds good. I think I must have gone the long way, past scenic trash and broken glass, abandoned haberdashery. I went about you in the wrong way, batted eyes and lies and hacks that pass for mastery. Honey, everybody knows. Honey, everybody knows. Honey, even when they don't. I think I must have made a wrong turn. I heard the satellite say, if you left him, you can make the right. The sign said this way to the slow burn. Now see the exit, now the billboard in the billboard lights. Honey, everybody knows. Honey, everybody knows. Honey, even when they don't. If you lived here, you'd be her by now. If you lived here, everything goes. I was like, go out there, put the water on the stool, put the guitar on your body. Hi, friends. That's what we call dead air just now. That was some dead air. But I'm like luxuriating in the liveness of this. Usually I'm like, thanks. Every Sunday during the quarantine, some light just came up in the audience to show me the people. Hey, people. What's up? Yep, it's weird. Can't see my own face. I usually spend most of my live stream being like, how's my hair? So yeah, during the quarantine, I did a live stream every week on Sundays at 4 called the Chrysalis. And as I said, I had a lot of writer's block. I did a lot of covers, a lot of Blue Oyster Cult and people like that. But one of the cool things that happened in quarantine was I have friends in Ireland. Can I just hear from the Irish Arts Center people one more time? Now, it was artificial. It doesn't work. I did an occasional Zoom, song circle with my friends in Ireland where we'd get together on Zoom and play each other songs. And then after 2 or 3 times, we gave each other some assignments of new songs to write to try to get it to happen. And one of the Irish guys was like, Rebecca, I think you'd sound lovely singing one of those Irish airs. Just one of those old-fashioned Irish airs. And I was like, okay, I'll write something like that. And then I called everyone I knew to be like, what is an air? Does anybody know what an air is? And long story short, nobody knows what it is. It's basically a song that's kind of loose in feel and maybe kind of sad or melancholy and is mostly on 2 chords. And I was like, okay, I'll just write an American version of that. And it really doesn't sound Irish at all. Maybe one of my only songs that doesn't sound Irish. This is called Air for 7th Avenue During the Plague. Every night the homeless guy tells the hood he's back in town. Every night the Empire State wears a different color crown. Every day at 10 a.m. angels walk around my room. You should see it. You should see it. Sometime soon. Party dress. I used to wear a pair of shoes. I used to say my life's a mess, but the kind was mine to lose. I used to keep the big bass drum in the closet by the door. Send it back where it come from. Wasn't someone there before? Trouble sometimes comes here too. 7th Avenue. I'm afraid that this will stop. I'm afraid that it will go. I am afraid someone will climb on up and through my window. I wash my hair, I call my friends, I blink, and then the day it ends. You should see it. You should see the moon shining down on us here too. 7th Avenue. Everybody's like, I thought this was a comedy show. So I'm gonna do my thing. My only thing that counts as comedy. So I sometimes work with a theater company here in New York called the Civilians, and yes, I enjoy them as well. And the way the Civilians works is that they usually do or have lots of people do a variety of interviews with people on a certain subject, and then transcribe the interviews and then make plays and scenes and songs out of the verbatim transcripts of these interviews. And I did a piece for one of the Joe's Pub shows, and the theme was holy matrimony. And I talked to the person who answered the question, what's the worst wedding you've ever been to? And I know I'm going to say this, and still no one will understand it. Usually people come up and they talk to me about this thing that happened to me. It did not happen to me. This was told to me exactly like this, but I just made a song out of it. Yeah. Anyway, it goes like this. Did you ever go back? No, I never went back. I was like, yeah, that's enough for me. Did you ever go back? No, I never went back. Oh, I never went back. Nope. To the land. So in Northern California, where I live, in the 70s, there was a kind of like bunch of hippies who decided to do this back to the land movement. So they took all their families and everybody they knew, and they moved them out to the middle of nowhere to a place that they refer to as the land. Of course, they call it that. And a couple of years ago, a friend of mine was up there, and she was spending some time on the land, and she met a guy, and they decided to get married. Did you ever go back? No, I never went back. I was like, yeah, that's enough for me. Did you ever go back? No, I never went back. Oh, I never went back to the land. And I got the invitation, and I was like, well, that sounds cool. You know, a weekend in the country, I'll go. But we started getting emails, and it became apparent really soon that we were going to have to do a bunch of shit. Could you bring this pot or pan? Could you bring a sleeping bag? And you also need a sleeping pad and all these things to put yourself up. Also, you need stuff to eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for however many days you're on the land. And then we got more emails, and it became apparent that not only were we feeding ourselves for the weekend, we were catering the dinner. Could you bring 10 pounds of chicken? Could you bring 4 dozen eggs? Can you basically go out and spend like $500 at the grocery store and fill up your car and just bring it on up to the land? So we decided to rent a minivan, myself and the friends that I was going with, Jake and Kathy, and we drive and we drive and we drive and we drive. And we drive 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 all the way out to the middle of nowhere to the place that they refer to as the land. And we get to the big house and we go up to the big house and we knock on the door, and right away, like out of central casting, there's this totally uptight, controlling hippie woman who is in charge of the kitchen. And it's, no, you can't put that there, you can't put that there, you need to put this here. These are the vegan cutting boards, these are the vegan knives, and it's actually very complicated. It takes forever to learn. It's like you're stepping into some kind of complicated psych experiment, and it's a setup to fail. And instantly, my friend Jake is like, well, see you later, ladies. I'm gonna go hang out with the guys. And that's when hippie rule number 1 starts to kick in. You know, like, well, the women folk are gonna gather in the kitchen. And the guys, they're gonna do their thing outside. And Kathy and I are like, this is bullshit. But we spent the whole day in the kitchen cooking. And that night, I can't find my sleeping bag, and someone took my sleeping pad, and a little girl wet her sleeping bag, and guess whose sleeping bag that was? And maybe someone touched me in the middle of the night. Nope. It turns out that the place is just full of mice. And then at 6 a.m., somebody comes in with a bell and starts ringing it. Like, wake up! We get up early on the land! And Kathy and I and all the women trudge over to the kitchen again and spend the whole day cooking. Kathy was calling it wedding work camp. But you know, eventually we go outside and there's like a tree, and we gather in a circle and they start the ceremony. And during the ceremony, like during the vows, there's this guy in the second row who starts like speaking out, like interrupting them. Like, oh wow, that is so cool. You guys are like joining, man. Like that, like super loud. And oh man, forever, that's a long time. Whoa, whoa. Like, okay, that guy is absolutely tripping. He's peeking at the wedding ceremony. And somebody went over and was like, Dustin, man, be more chill. But it just went on for like the whole time. But they like pronounce them man and wife. And we start to head back to the house. And all the hippie ladies are like, let's get the meal out. And I'm like, ask that guy, and that guy, and that guy. But I am sitting down, and I am eating now. We got a lot of flack for that. Got a lot of grief for not also agreeing to be the waitresses. A lot of dirty looks from Sky and Petal. But, you know, we ate and we had a good time. Then after dinner, they start this, like, fire pit ritual thing. And the guy from before, the tripping guy, is like, I'm jumping over the fire. I'm gonna jump over that fire. And we're like, Dustin, man, may not be such a good idea, but he wouldn't listen, and he tripped, and he fell in the fire. And was like standing in hot coals. Like, to the point where you could actually smell flesh burning. I know, it's like horrible, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's like, now we have a medical emergency, and we need someone who's completely sober, who can drive in and out of here in the dark in a car and somehow find a hospital on the land. It took a very long time to find that person. And then we found out 2 years later that they didn't even really get married, because they actually don't believe in it as like a legal thing, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I find it curious. And now they're divorced. Did you never go back? No, I never went back. I was like, yeah, that's enough for me. Oh, did you ever go back? No, I never went back. Oh, I never went back to the land. Thank you so much. My name is Rebecca Hart. I am at RebeccaHart.net. You should sign the mailing list, therefore, because my band is going to be playing a couple shows because we can, kind of. I have an album called The Magician's Daughter, blah, blah, blah. But that is not what you are here to experience. You are here to experience tonight a performer who is as talented as he is beautiful. And who asked me to say that? You guys, Liam McEneaney.
Hart. Rebecca Hart, about 2 feet shorter than me. Rebecca Hart, everybody. Oh my God, thank you. Rebecca, she was wonderful. And talented as I am beautiful. That is the worst insult I have ever received. In my 25 years of stand-up comedy, 25 years! Celebrating tomorrow night, it'll be literally exactly 25 years I've been doing this. By the way, can we have a round of applause for the Crane Theater? They've been here for 20 years. 20 years bringing small theater and shows like this to the East Village and the Lower East Side. And I've watched many shows at the Crane Theater, some of them even good. But I've been doing comedy for 25 years. By the way, just I'm going to acknowledge it. I do have my cheat sheet right here. I apologize. It has been 13 months since I've done a show. So thank you very much. It is great to be here. It is. Yeah, if you told me 25 years ago when I started stand-up comedy that one day I'd be celebrating in a theater that was almost empty, I would have told you, wow. I can't believe you invented time travel technology just to come here and tell me I'd be a failure one day. And then you'd say, no, it's not your fault. There's going to be a global pandemic in 2020. It's going to shut everything down for a year, and then everything's going to be weird after that. And then I'd say, wow, so you came back to warn the government. And then you'd have to say, well, no, actually, it wouldn't matter because the government is run, we elected Donald Trump as president. And then I'd say, wow, what a coincidence. There's a real estate developer here in New York City right now named Donald Trump. And then you'd say, oh, no, it's actually the same guy. And I'd have to say, what? Because everyone in 1996 hates that guy. And then you'd say, oh, no, but then he hosted a game show where he fired people. And America apparently loved him for that. And I'd say, what? And then you'd say, yeah, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger had to host it after he lost re-election for governor of California. And I'd say, wait a second. Who lost to Donald Trump? And then you'd have to say, well, it's a long story, but you know the guy who's president now? And I'd say, Bill Clinton ran again? And you'd say, no, actually his wife. And I'd say, you mean the woman who recently told every housewife in America to fuck themselves with their chocolate chip cookie recipes? And you'd say, well, it's a very long story, but in about a year, the entire Democratic Party is going to owe her a really big favor for being the world's greatest sports. And then I'd say, am I on candid camera? I'm sorry, I'm quoting a joke by my favorite comedian, Bill Cosby. And you'd say, ooh, Bill Cosby. Well, I hate to tell you, he's in prison. Multiple rapes. And I'd say, wow. The thing I really need to know right now is everyone will understand it's not my fault the theater's empty, right? That's just the way the world is, right? Because I don't want to get blamed for that. So, but it is great to be here. Thank you all so much for coming out. I'm not going to talk about COVID too much. I feel like we've all been hearing about it for 13 months. I will say the best thing about COVID has been how many friends I've lost. They haven't died. I've just been able to drop a lot of people I don't see anymore. Just been able to go through my Facebook and be like, wow, you have too many feelings about Star Wars movies. You have to go. Oh man, I'm just gonna cut everyone from this section of my life. Someone once told me like, yeah, I lost my grandma to COVID. I was like, wow, congratulations, how'd you do it? Oh right, ooh, sorry. That was my COVID joke. So the last time we talked, I was still living in New York City. I was living in Queens in a very Russian building. All my neighbors were Russian. And here's the thing. The Russians, very lovely people. They do not have a tradition of small talk. I would be riding the elevator with my neighbor and I'd be like, wow, it's cold out, huh? And he'd say, yes, but it's even colder in here. Okay, I just meant it's snowing outside. Oh, was snowing the night the soldiers came for my papa. Then my sister. Then the wolves came. Okay, I'm gonna get out here, and I'm never gonna take the elevator again. I would literally rather jump out the third-story window than ever take this elevator down with you again. But now I live in Los Angeles. Thank you. Thank you. Boo, that's 3 cheers and a boo. That's pretty much what Los Angeles deserves. I moved to Hollywood at first. And when people hear that, they're like, oh, that's so glamorous, all the celebrities. And no, the only way you'll find a celebrity in Hollywood is if they're going through at 100 miles an hour. It's not, if you run into a celebrity in Hollywood, something has gone horribly wrong in their life. They're at the point in the E! True Hollywood story right before they find Jesus. Right? Hollywood is a place where your dreams come true if your dream is to live in your car behind an LA Fitness and smoke meth all day. Don't get me wrong. LA is a great place to live if you are a giant bag of cocaine. Oh my God, if you're a giant bag of cocaine, that city is your oyster. You can walk into any club, just be like, hey, giant bag of cocaine here. Giant bag of cocaine right this way. The members of One Direction have been waiting for you, allegedly. Allegedly. Legally, I can't say I know that for sure. What's that? You're a person? Get out of here, you sack of shit. We've been waiting for giant bag of cocaine. I'm not kidding. If a giant bag of cocaine walked into LA, just walking and talking, it would be elected mayor of the city right before it was murdered by 30 homeless guys and snorted up. And no offense, by the way, to anyone in this theater who's on cocaine tonight. That's, I know at some point you're going to feel again, I don't want it to be hurt because of something I said. I will tell you, cocaine is a magic drug because it can take a party that's just kind of okay, and through the magic of one guy doing too much coke alone in the bathroom for 20 minutes, can turn it into an endless hell night from which there is no escape. And the way people talk about cocaine in LA is hilarious because they're so fancy. Like, here's the thing. You talk to drug addicts in the Midwest or the South, they have the nerve to be ashamed of themselves. They have the decency. Hello, I have not done comedy. Oh, they have the nerve to be sad that they do cocaine. Oh, how dare you. They have the common decency to be sad. Ashamed of themselves. Let's start over, but in English this time. They have the common decency to be ashamed of them. I'm going to keep going. Like, you talk to them just like, I did it again last night. I did cocaine, and I woke up 48 hours later, and my wife wasn't there anymore, and my kids on them. But you talk to people in Los Angeles, and they're just like, oh, I did a little Tutski last night. Yeah, me and my friends, we got together, and we just did a little woolly blue. Like a little tootly woolly. Like a little beep, beep, beep. Like they have a cocaine sommelier. Like a guy's like, oh, you want to do cocaine tonight? All right, what shall we pair it with? 4 guys are going to dress identically and bother women at the bar all night? You want a classic 1975 Bolivian Whites. What's that? You need to pair it with staying up until 4 a.m. and stealing all your parents' possessions and selling them for $20? Here is a Detroit 2021 crack. Also, I don't want to brag, but where I lived in Hollywood was extremely convenient because I was no more than a 2-minute drive in any direction from my closest Scientology center. It was so wonderful. If I ever needed any time, day or night, to watch a 17-minute movie and get a stress test, I was there. And by the way, if you're watching this in the theater or at home and you're into Scientology, that's fine. Like, honestly, I don't care. I just don't want to have to hear about it after the show. I am surprisingly tolerant of people who leave me the hell alone. And if you're watching this tonight and you're not into Scientology, I really don't want to hear about it. Because those are the people who come up and they're like, you can't joke about that. I know, I watched Leah Remini's TV show. Do you know what they do to those people? And I'm like, look, my dad went to Catholic school in the 1950s. Do you know what they did to him? I watched Sister Act with him once. It was like watching Platoon with a Vietnam vet. I was like, oh, Dad, those nuns are so cute. He's like, you have no idea, man. I was there. Hollywood's glamorizing them, man. So I'm waiting to cross the street in my neighborhood, Sunset in Vermont. A Scientologist comes up to me and he's like, excuse me, sir, do you mind if I talk to you for a second about Scientology? And I said, hey, listen, no offense. Really, it's just not my thing. I already moved to LA with my own set of crazy ideas, like I could make a living at stand-up comedy. And that threw him for a second. And then he went, well, do you mind if I ask you what you've seen or read in the media that might have been negative about Scientology? I was like, look, I understand what you're doing, but I need you to know where I'm coming from, okay? I've read up on all the world's major religions. I've read the Bible. I've read up on the Quran. I've read up on Zen Buddhism. And the one thing that all the major religious leaders have said, and if you're L. Ron Hubbard's Any Great Shakes, he said this too, is that we are all born with the capacity to love each other. And so the only real sin any of us can commit, and then he said, oh, I gotta go. And he walked away. And I realized I had creeped out the street corner Scientologist. Because the only thing people hate more than that is a goddamn hippie, like you heard Rebecca singing about. Also, I lived in Hollywood is the kind of neighborhood where there's 1 million yoga studios, 1,000 storefront psychics, and 1 dentist. That is... I went to a storefront psychic because I was just curious, because it said $10 to get your future read. And look, I'm skeptical of psychic phenomena, but I'm a Leo, so I would be, right? But what I do know is that I've been on a lot of dates, and $10 is super cheap to have a woman sit at a table and pretend to be interested in what you're saying. And the thing is, psychics are really good at telling you everything you need to know about the kind of person who would go to a psychic. Because they're just like, okay, let me see. I think you are really gullible. Yes! And you waste your money on a lot of things that are kind of fraudulent. Wow! And your friends consider you the dumb one of the friend group. Oh my God, it's like you're reading my mind. Woo. LA is also full of the kind of people who propose publicly, which I don't do that. If you're here and you're thinking about proposing, don't do it in public. Don't do it here. Nobody wants to be part of your happy memory. I'm eating at a restaurant with someone I decided I didn't love a month ago. Why do I want to watch you propose to your girlfriend? The only reason people take out their cameras to record public proposals is just in case she says no. And then you can have the most popular video on YouTube. That is the only reason. Also, the leading cause of death in Los Angeles right now is gender reveal parties. I mean, that's not true, but I wish it was. Yes, I wrote that this morning. I've started driving since I went to LA. And I don't want to say I'm a New York City driver, but if you see me coming up the street, just get off the sidewalk. Get up 2 stories high. It's the safest way to be. Although I will say, I was driving up a highway. It goes through Los Angeles. It's called the 101. It starts down somewhere in hell, and it goes up past Sacramento, which is no better. And I was driving up to San Francisco one time, and I saw something on the highway that really reaffirmed my faith in humanity. 5 of us drivers, all strangers to each other, without talking to each other beforehand, decided at the same time not to let a guy in a Lexus out of the passing lane. It was beautiful. I got up behind him, guy in front slowed down, 3 people boxed him in from the right. It was like all of us looked at this guy at the same time and said, life has given you so much, and you use that to buy a Lexus. You do not deserve to go home. Enjoy your new life up in Canada. I am so sorry I have to keep looking at this. All right, now comes a longer bit, which I may remember half the punchlines of. Let's do it. At some point in my life in LA, I started having panic attacks. If you don't know what a panic attack is, God bless you, you're extremely lucky. Enjoy not being mentally ill. But basically, there's a little button in your brain, and when the body's decided that your body's dying, it presses that button, and it sends these panic signals out, and your brain is like, okay, we're shutting down now. and it's scary as hell. And sometimes your body's just like, you know what, I'm a little bit bored, it's 2 in the morning, let's just watch a fireworks show right now, right? And I understand, my brain and my body are at war, which I get, okay? I know, I see what my brain has done to my body. I understand there's some resentment here. I used to be a 5-night-a-week blackout drinker, which, by the way, I'm not down on blackout drinking, it's great. It's basically cheap time travel. Right, because you sit down, you have 8 or 10 drinks, and you wake up in a future where everyone's mad at you. So, I get it. So again, my body and my brain are at war with each other. There we go. Okay, so fuck me. Okay, at some point I will have my memory back. Hey, look, it's the first show after the pandemic. I will be referring to my notes a lot. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry you all have to wear pants to watch a show. I'm sure we're all just like, oh, can I just check my email for 1 second and get right back to him? So it's 2 a.m. in my Hollywood studio apartment, and I just started having a panic attack. And if you've never had one before, the symptoms are like basically you start sweating and you get really pale and you start choking and your chest gets tight and it's like boom, 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 and your body's telling you you're dying. So of course I immediately called my primary care physician, who is the internet. By the way, don't do that. The internet is not your friend. It's not there to help you. Okay, the internet is just there to see all the people you hated in high school and how ugly their kids are. That's the only thing it's good for, right? But of course, those are all the symptoms of a heart attack. So suddenly, my brain is telling me, you're dying. And then the internet's telling me, you're dying. So I'm like, oh, how do you cure a heart attack? And the first thing they tell you to do is to take a baby aspirin. I'm like, oh no, I don't have any baby aspirin in my house. I better get some. So at 2 in the morning, dying of a heart attack, I ran to the 24-hour Walgreens in my neighborhood. At 2 in the morning, dying of a heart attack, I put on my clothes and my shoes, and I ran down 3 flights of stairs and up 4 long blocks. I'm going to tell you something. I am a big man. That is a startling thing to see coming out of you at the dark at 2 in the morning. Just like, get out of my way, I'm dying. Old man was like, El Diablo. All right, I'll tell him if I see him that you say hi. And I got to the 24-hour Walgreens, and I just like, I'm dying. Where's the aspirin section? And luckily, it's a 24-hour drugstore in Hollywood. They're used to crazy people. They're just like, oh yeah, it's aisle 27. Just to follow the guy who cut his own arm off. You'll see it right there. They're like, all right, I'm dying. I get to the aspirin. I'm like, all right, St. John's baby aspirin, $16.99. Generic baby aspirin, $4.99. I'm dying. I know, but I can get like 3 times as much. But I mean, I'm dying. Well, look, I mean, is it the same ingredients or is it like one of these made with arsenic? Like, what's going on? I'm dying. I know, but remember that time that we got the generic anti-diarrhea medicine? Never do that again. Anyway, I'm telling this story in my apartment to the EMT I called through 911. Let's just say the look on his face was not impressed. He's like, what's that on your shirt? Oh, I had some pizza. I got hungry while I waited for you. He's like, well, sir, the good news is you're not going to die of a heart attack. The bad news is I might kill you myself for wasting my time. Woo, that went better than I expected. Is anyone else just tired all the time now? How is it I sit in my apartment for 18 hours a day and I'm exhausted? And I'm not just tired, I wake up tired. I'm so tired when I wake up, I'm like, did I run a marathon in my sleep or did I dream about coal mining or what's up? But then, by the time I go to bed, I am wide awake. And then my brain's like, well, we could go to sleep right now and get 7 hours, or we could stay up till 4 in the morning and scroll through Facebook to the end. I bet if we keep scrolling, we can get to Mark Zuckerberg's baby photos tonight. I am tired all the time. Just like... Sorry, I wrote this last week. I am too tired for 25-year-olds anymore. Their excitement about the future. I'm like, look, buddy, I live in your future. It's exhausting. And it hurts. You go to sleep and just every part of your body takes turns hurting until you get to sleep. That's just it. Right? Like I go on Tinder and now my minimum age is dead inside. I get exhausted eating a meal now. I'm just like sweaty and exhausted after eating. Remember my friend was like, hey, the gym's reopening. You want to go? I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have a 3-piece meal from KFC. It'll be the same effect. I do like going to the gym. I go to the gym religiously, twice a year, Christmas and Easter. I started doing yoga in LA, and I do believe the results speak for themselves. I did. I started going to yoga, and the thing I learned in yoga is the difference between my leg doing this and my leg doing this is about 80 gallons of sweat. I don't understand it. This, with my leg, super easy. This, I want to cut it off to end the pain. Not a yoga crowd. We'll skip that. I want to get political for a second, and I apologize if this offends anyone, but I have to speak my truth now. Wouldn't it be awful if the rest of the show is just QAnon? Like just 30 minutes of killer material about libtard cucks. Hey, so here was at the Capitol on January 6th, am I right? There I was behind Nancy Pelosi's desk. No, I do want to get political for a second, and if this offends anyone, I understand. If you're at home and you want to shut it off, I get it, but I do have to speak my truth right now, which is that America used to be number one at having haunted houses. Used to be there was a haunted house in every small town in America. You couldn't ask for directions without some old timer just saying, oh, you don't want to go up Smithfield Road. That's the old Johnson house. Back in 1809, he murdered his wife and family. They say on a cold winter's night, you can still hear him screaming down the hill. We don't have that anymore because we tore down all those old houses to build Pizza Huts. And you do not have spooky old abandoned Pizza Huts. Right? Nobody's going to be like, oh, you don't want to go up Smithfield Road? That's the Pizza Hut that was built in 2007. They say over 800 men have died from osteosclerosis eating that. On a cold winter's night, you can still hear the original manager screaming and crying because he still works there. He's never getting a promotion. What's hilarious is haunted house rides are the least scary rides I've ever been on. There's never a good haunted house ride. In fact, the scariest thing about the haunted house ride is the carny who's operating it. Like, you want to talk about haunted, just look in the face of any carnival worker. That's a man who's not allowed into 7 states anymore. Right, but you go on the haunted house ride, and it's just like you're in a little cart, and it's just like... And then Dracula, like, blah, I'm going to suck your blood. And you're like, wow, that's so scary. I might get hepatitis C or something. And then, Frankenstein's monster. And you're like, oh, no, that's a cautionary tale about the need for good medical coverage or something. I don't... You want to scare me in a haunted house, forget all that. Just halfway through, have a carny jump out, grab me and go, you're the carnival worker now. The curse has been lifted. 1,000 years making cotton candy for you, mister. I love action movies, like every guy on earth. I love a good action. I love The Rock. Like every man who's ever lived, I'm convinced I am 25 sit-ups away from being The Rock. I go watch The Rock, and then afterwards I feel like a tough guy for about 2 hours. Just walking down the street like, get out of my way, old lady. Yeah, I'll fight a 70-year-old and her husband. I don't care. Because I watched The Rock, and he's so awesome. You know, he just like, and he makes it look so easy. Right? He's like got a big gun and he runs up like 17 flights and he kicks open a door and he's got like some really funny thing. He says like, well, I guess I didn't get the invitation. Sorry to crash your party. And he's like, and he kills like 50 terrorists and then he throat punches a guy and then he kicks a guy. And I'm like, yeah, me and The Rock, the same guy. Me and you, The Rock, we can do the same stuff. But I couldn't do that. That was me in the Rock movie. I'd be like running up 17 flights of stairs, and I'd kick open the door, and then I'd say something like, oh, hold on a second. Oh my God. That was 17 flights. Hold on, I'm sorry. I just have to, 1 second. Oh. Yeah, I broke the door. The door I came through, that's how tired I am. Oh, my heart. Oh, my God. Why'd you have to do this on the roof? Oh, there's a big lobby down there. You could have held everyone hostage. Okay, I think I'm okay. Let me just... all right, let's start now. Where'd everybody go? And that would be my action movie. Thank you. Thank you. Whew. The hilarious part about that bit is it genuinely exhausts me. I am a lover, not a fighter, ladies. Which made me the least popular member of my high school wrestling team. They were not a fan of my figure four or my camel clutch. I decided I wanted to learn how to fight so I could be like The Rock one day. And so I went and decided to take karate lessons. If you've never taken karate lessons, the first thing that happens is you walk into the dojo and someone hands you a set of white pajamas and says, here, wear these. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I'm about to pay a guy to beat the crap out of me for 2 hours. Why not wear something sexy for him? And of course I do. And I go in, the instructor's there, and he says, I am going to show you what you will be able to do if you stick with your lessons. And he's got a big wooden board right here, and he goes, yeah! And he breaks the board with his bare hand. And he's got a big brick right here, and he goes, yeah! And he breaks the brick with his bare hand. And I'm like, whoa, excuse me, that's great if I'm ever attacked by a house. But what do I do if I'm fighting a person? Like I'm drunk? I don't like the looks of their face. I just saw Fast and Furious 8. And he said, listen, the reason you learn karate is so you may never need to use it. I'm like, dude, I already know how to not use karate. Have you seen me in a fight? Unless karate involves a lot of slapping and crying, I pretty much mastered not using it. But I decided to stick with my lessons because I paid for them. And one night, I am leaving the dojo at 11:30 at night. And I decided to take a shortcut down a dark alley. And halfway down this dark alley, I was attacked by 2 unemployed carpenters, armed only with a large wooden board and a brick. I'm like, whoa, this is where my training comes in. And I turned to the guy at the board and I go, excuse me while I slip into something sexy for you. And he said, were you on my high school wrestling team? And he ran away. And the guy turned to the guy with the brick and I go, ha-ha, hee-yah! And I managed to break my hand using only his brick. This made the guy laugh so hard he dropped the brick on his foot, breaking his foot, sending him falling into garbage cans where he's attacked by a homeless man and a feral cat. And I stood over him with my broken, bloody hand going, that's what you get for messing with a guy who paid too much money to learn how to not use karate. I want to be a tough guy. I was a little nervous. I think I wanted to be a little tougher because I did a drive through the South a couple years ago, and I was very nervous because I am half Jewish, and that half is entirely in my face. There is no disguising it. From the neck up, I look like I can do your taxes. I cannot. You will go to prison if I do your taxes. I have unfortunately inherited the Irish head for business and the Jewish body for fighting. There's no way around it. But I decided to drive through the South, and the thing about the South I was really pleasantly surprised by is like people are just, there's a lot of very nice, smart, articulate people in the South, like very, very cool. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, what did I expect? I mean, I come from the Northeast where we have more rednecks and hillbillies than anyone. I mean, like I was driving through Western Pennsylvania once. I saw a billboard for a gun rental store. Not enough of you are laughing. Allow me to say, a billboard for a gun rental store. In case you happen to be driving up the highway and you had an impulse to shoot something or somebody. I understand that's convenient for the busy murderer on the go. You're on your way to shoot your wife in some motel in Allentown because she's with your accountant. You're like, oh, gun, of course. Boy, would I have egg on my face if I showed up and tried to be like bang, bang with my mouth and my fingers. Right, my friends, I was telling some friends about this, and they were like, well, obviously that's for hunters. And I was like, yeah, except the billboard had a picture of a pistol on it. I don't know too much about hunting, but I do know you don't get up at 3 a.m, put on a camouflage bodysuit and one of those ridiculous bright orange vests that make you look like a traffic cone on a Christmas tree and go out into the woods with your pistol and go, hey, psst, hey, deer, come over here. Yeah, you, deer, psst, come here. You like puppies? Yeah? No? Okay. You like ice cream? Yeah, come here a second. Yeah. I got something to show you. Yeah. Yeah, see? You're going to give me your antlers now, see? This is a stick-up. Yeah. All you animals. Yeah, nobody move or you all get it, see? I'm getting it. What are you looking at, rabbit? You going to call the cops? What are you talking about? I'm just a cute little rabbit. I don't know how to use a phone. Hello, officer. I gotta go. Yeah, I capped the rabbit and I'll cap all of you, see? Now I want you all to start removing your furs, because that's where the money is. Nobody does that when they're hunting. All I know is this gun rental store was next door to a liquor store with the world's most nervous-looking clerk. I'm from New York City. We have the biggest rednecks and hillbillies in New York City. Nobody believes me, but you go out to Long Island, it's scary out there. I mean, the difference between the South and Long Island is in Long Island, nobody's going to have sex with their cousin unless they plan to marry them first. That's the big difference. Sorry, this is for like 3 people who are watching tonight. And they're all Italian. Yeah! That's someone who has not been out to the South Shore in a long time. Head out to Suffolk County and then come back and tell me I'm wrong. I mean, but you look at Bruce Springsteen, right? That's just country music for people who think they're too good for country music. All of his songs are about sad men driving their cars all night. You turn that car into a pickup truck, he's Travis Tritt. So I was in the South. I was in rural Tennessee, beautiful, beautiful country. I was parked outside of a gas station that had an Arby's attached. Eating potato. It was literally the only restaurant in town was the Arby's attached to the gas station. I went for potato chips from the gas station because I was like, I want to die in bed surrounded by loved ones and not alone on a gas station men's room, doing my vocal warm-ups now, men's room. We start the show in 20 minutes. Men's room. Men's room toilet. Men's room. So I'm sitting in my car eating these potato chips, and I swear to God, cartoon hillbilly, and I mean cartoon hillbilly, like I'm about to describe him, and you're gonna think that's a bit much. I'm not kidding. Big guy, not all his teeth, which not here to judge. Big Santa Claus beard. At first, I thought he was wearing a wool sweater under his overalls. I realized he was not wearing a shirt. Yeah, wearing a trucker's cap, okay? In New York and LA, trucker's cap, hilariously ironic. Everywhere else in the country, a trucker's cap is the last thing a hitchhiker sees. And he's standing there and he's looking in my direction and he says, "Hey, boy!" And my blood ran cold because I've seen the movies. I know nothing good follows, "Hey, boy!" No one in the history of anything has ever said, "Hey, boy, I won a Nobel Prize. You want to come back and see?" No, it's usually like, "Hey, boy, I got a shotgun and a dress. Guess which one you're going to wear?" And I was like, "Fine, keep it calm. He might not be talking to you." And then he goes, "You want some?" Like a professional wrestler. In fact, if you did that in WWE wrestling, they'd say, "Tone it down a little bit. That's a little much." I know for a fact, "You want some?" is Southern for everybody out of the bar. Somebody's going to lose something off their body. Right? So I, not knowing what to do, I stepped out of the car and I said, "You talking to me?" Which is New York redneck for, "Hey, boy!" And he looks at me, he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "What?" And I'm like, "What?" It's like the Harvard debate team if they had been hit over the head with shovels right before the debate. And I'm just like, "Hey, we got a problem," which is, New York redneck for, "You want some?" And then I realized he was really scared. He was like confused and scared. And then I saw he was standing in front of the Arby's. And he's like, "I'm talking to my boy over there." And I looked over and there was his son in front of a pickup truck. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were mad at me about something, but I see." He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to get some Barbies." I'm like, "Oh, you're not mad at me, you're mad at your lower intestine. I get it now." He's like, "Yeah, you want some?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you are trying to kill me." Thank you. That is the end of that joke. Listen, let's remember the good times when we enjoyed 90% of that joke. And not the bad times when it ended so anticlimactically. That is almost an entirely true story, by the way. I went camping in the Grand Canyon. That's where I was heading. I headed up to the Grand Canyon. I love camping. You've never been camping, it's wonderful. Because the only thing that was protecting me from the elements was a $30 tent I bought at Target. Wonderful purchase. Absolutely do not spend any more money on a tent if you're planning to camp in 20-degree weather. There's nothing better than regretting all of your life choices immediately after setting up the tent you're going to sleep in. Oh, so beautiful. But you can't even be mad when it breaks or it melts because you're like, "I just spent $30 at Target. That's how much I value my life." And don't get me wrong, the tent was great because I have to say, there are a lot of like spiders and mosquitoes in the woods where you're camping, and there's nothing better at night than to zip that tent up and trap them all inside with you. $30 tent from Target will protect you from bear attacks because no self-respecting bear on earth will eat a man in a $30 tent. That bear's going to come out of the woods and be like, "I'm so hungry. Oh, $30 tent from Target. Oh, man, he's like a cheap plastic burrito. That's someone who doesn't take care of himself. Probably ate a 3-piece KFC for dinner. I'm gonna... I hear some hippies singing down the road. I'll just go eat them. It's all lean meat and protein. Luckily, to protect myself from the cold, hard ground at night, I also bought a $30 sleeping bag from Target, which, beautiful. It was on the box. It said it was for people up to 6 feet. I'm guessing I'm a little bigger than the people they were expecting because it fit snugly up to here on me. I looked like a mermaid that had just come ashore. Worst night's sleep of my life. Because from here down, extremely snug, which meant I was red hot sweltering. From here on up, I was blue with pneumonia. I looked like an electoral map of the United States of America. But I was up in the Grand Canyon, which is 4,000 feet. It turns out it's a hole in the ground, but you have to go way up first. I went to New York City public school. I don't know anything about geography. I'm lucky I found the theater tonight, quite frankly. But first, I was at the Grand Canyon, and it was actually this amazing spiritual experience where just at night, you look up and there's nothing but stars above you. And I looked up and I just saw the Milky Way and all the galaxies and the cosmos above me. And it was this moment where I was just like, oh my God. Like, you realize how insignificant you are on this planet. It's like being on a dating app, but on a cosmic scale. Right? Like, even less people care about you. Right? And I had this moment where it's just like, man, we are all on this earth so lucky that this planet was just close enough to the sun that water would get trapped in the atmosphere and life could develop, and then a fish decided to walk out of the ocean, which, by the way, is an underratedly brave social move on behalf of a fish. Okay, he left all his friends behind. You know they weren't happy. You know they're like, oh, there goes Clyde with his legs. Hey, have a great time. With those lungs you're breathing through. All right, we're going to go look for some kelp. Have fun, buddy. And then they crawl ashore and they survive and they turn into like dinosaurs and then apes and then people. Unless you went to the Alabama public school system, in which case this is where God intervened. Right? And then people built crude shelters and then cities and, just like, and then lights and electricity and high-speed internet, and all of that led us to a moment where there's just a guy standing in front of an Arby's going, hey boy, you want some? So we are all of us miracles, but some of us are less miraculous than others. Thank you. That was 45 minutes. That is a 45-minute set. Encore. What, no encore? All right. I'm going to do a bit. Fiona, you're here, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do a bit for Fiona then. Fiona is my Irish friend who has been booking me for shows for 20 years, so give her a round of applause. Fiona booked me for shows when I was too lazy to be funny. That's how long ago. She believed in me. She believed one day I could quarter fill an entire theater. She says, someday, Liam, I see a bunch of empty spaces between seats, but it's not your fault. I like a good comedy show with noisy upstairs neighbors, by the way. I think that music's going to get loud enough that we're going to have a dance party after the show. But I just want to. So Fiona's here. She, as Rebecca was saying, Rebecca and I met through Fiona at the Irish Arts Center. Fiona is Irish. Fiona, give them a sentence so they get a feel for you.
The top of the morning, too.
Exactly. But somehow more stereotypical. I don't understand how that. Like, she actually just toned it down a little bit. If you're watching at home and you couldn't hear, she went, top of the morning to you. Oh, we have a pea-thatched cottage out here. I love Ireland. I would never live there, but I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's like people are like, in Ireland they have free healthcare. Yeah, but look how healthy they look. I mean, really. How is it I never saw a doctor for 15 years and I look healthier than 90% of the men in Ireland? I don't get that. But when I was traveling through Ireland, it was great. It's a really amazing experience. And I decided to treat myself to a ride on their national railroad line called Irish Rail. And I really recommend anyone doing that if they have 3 days to kill. Because it took what should have been a 45-minute train ride, and through the miracle of Irish engineering, turned it into a 3-hour journey through the darkest parts of my soul. We were stuck halfway between Limerick and Dublin for 75 minutes at a station called Charleville City Station. 75 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. And the conductor kept having to come on the PA to make announcements. He was the most depressed sounding human being I've ever heard in my life. He would come on and be like,
"Attention, ladies and gentlemen. We seem to be stuck here for a while. Now is a really good time to go out and have a cigarette."
he said that. Go out and have a cigarette. He's like,
Attention, ladies and gentlemen. We seem to be stuck here. I'd like to apologise on behalf of Irish Rail that you decided to try Irish Rail. You could have taken a bus. Don't be angry. You're only stuck here for 75 minutes. I'll be stuck here for the rest of me fucking life.
we started moving again, and I saw the reason that we had been stopped for so long, because I looked out at the rail line going away from Dublin, and it was what I would call being built. Which is fair. We've only had railroad technology for 400 years. Take your time, Ireland. I was just imagining a bunch of Irish workers who are like, well, we finished building a rail line going towards Dublin. What should we do now? Let's knock off for a pint or two. Are you sure we shouldn't build a rail line going the other direction? Oh, listen to Mr. Fancy here. Wants a rail line going both directions. When I was your age, we carried the English around on our backs and we liked it. I love Irish folk music. It's the best folk music on earth. 75% of songs from Ireland are about people who got the hell out of Ireland as soon as they could. Like out of whatever horrible little village they escaped from. And now it's the only place they ever want to be on earth, is back in that terrible village they barely got out of alive. Right? It's just always like, there's always a song like, 'tis over this world I have wandered, and many a sight I have seen, but never a sight there was grander than the sight of the village Colleen. Oh, the sight of the village Colleen, boys, the sight of the village Colleen. Oh, never a sight there was grander than the sight of the village Colleen. Right? No, don't applaud yet. There's more. That wasn't the funny verse. Right? The second verse is always where they brag about how everyone is better in their village than. But always it's something nobody should be proud of being good at, like drinking or fighting or drinking and then fighting. I forget how it goes. I know. I can't believe you paid $20 for this either. The third verse Listen, it's on an album called Comedian. It's on Spotify. I make 1/1/4 of a penny if you listen to it, for Christ's sakes. Oh my God. All right. It's been 13 months. Welcome back. The third verse is your romantic verse. I do know how this one goes. And that's where your tenor steps forward. And he's just like, oh, I'm a man of some vices. I've lain with... Oh, fuck. Now I remember how the second verse goes. Fuck it. Third verse is your romantic verse. The tenor steps forward. He's like, now I am a man of some vices. I've lain with many Colleen, but none beat the rock bottom prices of the girls of County Killeen. The girls of the village Killeen. Boys, the girls of the village. I can't end on that. I thought I could end on a big laugh. God damn it. Want to do the rest of that yoga bit? I don't know. Has anyone ever heard my act before who wants to hear something? No? Awesome. All right. All right. I thought I'd do this great thing for Fiona and myself and then get the fuck out. But, whatever. We got no show after us. This is officially a comedy hostage situation. Let's lean into it. All right, fuck it. It's been 25 years. I'm going to end on a bit. I don't know why I'm grabbing the mic stand. I don't need it. It's been 25 years. I'm going to end on a bit that has literally carried me across the country, many countries, sometimes where they don't speak English. This is one of my favorite bits. I feel like Frank Sinatra about to introduce My Way. It was written by one Mr. Paul Anka. I'm sick of doing it, but God damn it, I gotta do. He says that in his concerts, by the way, if you listen. All right. When I was a kid, fuck it. When I was a kid, I went to the New York City public schools, as I mentioned before, and they wanted to teach us not to have kids of our own, right? Like they wanted to teach us. And so what they did, and I really, I am curious if they did this in your schools, they made us bring an egg in every year and carry it around, like draw a face on it and carry it around all day. And that was supposed to teach us what it was like to have a baby. But really, the only thing I learned about having a baby from that is if you have a baby and you drop it and kill it, it's no big deal. Because there's 11 more at home just like it. Right, and every year, like one year we went around the room naming our babies, and one kid's like, mine is Anthony, and this girl's like, mine is Teresa. And I was like, mine is breakfast. But one year, my best friend, James Martin, in the 5th grade, he was like, hey Liam, I'm gonna win this year. I'm like, win what? What are you talking about? And he's like, look, I boiled my egg. Uh-oh, I dropped my baby, but it's okay. Look, I dropped my baby again, but he's okay. And the teacher saw him, and she was furious. She's like, you can't do that. What if you have a baby for real? How are you going to take care of it? It's like, I guess I'll boil it. Oh, I dropped my baby, but he's okay. And she was so mad, she kept him after school so she could yell at his mom. And she was like, do you know what your son did? And I happened to be there for it because she was my babysitter. Right? And she's like, your son said if he had a baby, the way he'd take care of it is he would boil it. And Mrs. Martin was so cool. She was just like, look, I am a single mother with 4 kids. If my son has a baby right now, I am boiling them both. But when I was a kid, the NYPD had a program where they would send a uniformed officer into our classroom twice a year to talk to us about drugs. And the guy would come with a briefcase filled with drug samples. And this bit was written back when drugs were illegal. If you're under the age of 30, There was a time when you were not allowed to do any drug you wanted publicly in front of a police officer. And I always wondered, he seemed less like he was warning us about drugs and more like he was a traveling drug salesman. Because he would be like, all right, kids, this here is cocaine. Now, you may have heard that cocaine's a fun party drug, but it's very expensive. A lot of people have lost their houses and their cars using it. Yes, I know one was elected mayor of LA last month. Regardless, most people have switched to crack. It's only $5 a hit. This is marijuana or weed, again, back when it was illegal. Now, your friends are going to try to tell you that the marijuana is not that great for you just because it's not addictive and it does no long-term damage. I fucked that whole joke up. God damn it. I can't end this set. I'm having a great time. I hope the people watching at home are having an okay time. Here's the thing about yoga. I know there's 3 of us in here who've done it. I do not give a shit. Let's do it. I had a great instructor. She was terrifying. She like led us through this pose where she's like, okay, first you roll back onto your shoulders, bending your neck at an unnatural 90-degree angle. Then you lift your legs halfway up like you're about to offer a man your gift. Then you lift your legs all the way up so all the blood rushes into your head and you're about to pass out. And this is where I like to just sit for about 15 minutes and think about things. It's a good meditation pose. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I rarely get a chance to just sit and think about what excruciating pain I'm in. I don't take yoga from men. I don't take yoga from male instructors. I think they are all creeps. If you're a yoga instructor in here, well, you're learning. Congrats. They're all like tall and thin. And they all have like scruff and buns on top of their heads. They all look like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo for some reason. They're always whispering like this, like, hey, namaste, hey. Like it's spiritual somehow to whisper. They're like, I don't believe in God, but I don't want him to hear me say it. They're always bowing when they're talking to me like, hey, Liam, it's so great to see you at the practice. Like, what am I, the CEO of Mitsubishi Motors? Stop bowing to me. Oh, and they're never happy to see me walk in to the yoga studio because a guy who looks like me, that's not what they got into yoga to do. They don't want to meet guys. You can tell when they go around the room to adjust your pose. They get to me and they're like, yeah, that's great. Okay, you just keep doing that. And they get to the woman next to me in her yoga Lululemon pants and they're like, all right, here we go. Okay, I'm just gonna take your leg. I'm just gonna move right high up on your thigh. I'm just gonna move it right here, and then I'm gonna take the other leg. I'm gonna open it up right here. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab you by your shoulder right here, and I'm just gonna slowly enter you. Just feel that energy inside of you. Oh, so spiritual. So great. That's the laugh I was looking to end on. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No, because in 2 seconds I'm going to get out and we're all going to talk, but I have to put my mask on. All right, thank you. I'm still here. I wasn't kidding. Stop staring at me. Okay. There we go. Thank you. It's over.
request that you do exit as you would an airplane, back first and further, further forward later. The other thing is, this would normally be when I would beg for money for our indie theater company, which I'm not gonna not do, but instead of begging just for our company, I would say if you have an extra dollar, send it to your favorite artist.